My in-laws' family dumped my sister-in-law, who's now mute and bedridden, on me and went on a vacation to Hawaii. Right before they left, my husband, Jack, said, "Taking care of her is your job. Don't slack off." The moment Jack and his family left the house, my sister-in-law sat up and said, "Okay, let's get going too." I'm Lisa, 29 years old. As a teenager, I dreamed of becoming a pop star, but eventually realized it was a fleeting dream, and before I knew it, I was in my late 20s. I started dating Jack, whom I had met through a friend, because my mother, with whom I live, kept asking when she was going to see her grandchild. Talking to Jack, I found out that he too had once dreamed of entering the entertainment industry when he was young. Despite our past aspirations, Jack now works at a prestigious trading company with its headquarters in downtown Manhattan. After graduating from college, I worked at a bank until I got married and quit. One day, Jack and I went to his parents' house. Jack has a younger sister named Lucy, who caught a fever when she was a child. Her mother thought it was just a common cold, but when the fever didn't subside, they took her to a doctor and found out it was encephalitis caused by an influenza. It was already too late, and due to the prolonged high fever, Lucy was left with brain damage and turned bedridden. Furthermore, the high fever left lingering effects on the part of her brain that controls speech, leaving her unable to speak. My mother-in-law was the one who took care of Lucy for the most part. For some reason, Lucy and I got along well, and I always looked forward to visiting Jack's family. Lucy couldn't converse verbally, so she used sign language. After becoming close with Lucy, I naturally picked up sign language as well. One day, I signed to Lucy, "We're like best friends who've known each other forever, aren't we?" To which she replied, "Yes, we are. Let's stay close friends forever." I responded, "Of course we will." However, my mother-in-law, who is the complete opposite of Lucy, was always sarcastic towards me. Jack and I live in a condo about a 30-minute drive from his parents' house, but occasionally my mother-in-law would drive over unannounced and start nitpicking on me. "Jackie's shoes are filthy. If a man's shoes are dirty, it reflects poorly on his work. It's your responsibility to keep them clean." My mother-in-law always referred to Jack as Jackie. "Make sure you always fold the laundry neatly. If you don't, Jackie will be in a bad mood." The one who raised Jack this way was none other than her. "No matter how late Jackie gets home, you must never go to bed before him, even if Jackie says it's okay for you to go to bed first." My mother-in-law would say such old-fashioned things. Jack, while we were dating and initially after we got married, was very kind and never disagreed with me. For example, if I said I wasn't feeling well and asked him to have dinner outside, he would readily agree. If I saw a designer bag I liked, he would buy it for me the following month. However, about a year after we got married, Jack started to change. Or perhaps he returned to his original self. He started coming home late from work, always reeking of alcohol. Jack's been increasingly busy on Saturdays and Sundays, always claiming that work kept him away from home. When he would occasionally visit his parents' home, he would decline my requests to join him, which was kind of odd. One day, I decided to confront him about it. "Jack, you've become so distant lately. It feels like you're a completely different person," I said. Jack glared at me for a moment, then replied, "That's not true. You're overthinking things." "I don't think I am," I retorted. "You barely talk to me anymore." "I told you, you're overthinking it. Stop bringing this up." With that, he walked away to take a shower, ending the conversation. One day, Jack surprised me by saying, "This Sunday, I'm going home. What are you going to do?" I was taken aback, as Jack had previously always refused my company on such visits. "Wait, I can come with you this time?" I asked, to which he replied, "That's why I'm asking." "Well, of course, I'll come then. I'd like to see Lucy too," I added. Jack frowned a bit and said, "You and Lucy seem to get along really well, huh?" "Yes, we do. It feels like we've been best friends forever," I responded, noticing Jack's slight grimace at my words. On Sunday, I drove us to Jack's family home in Nebraska. We stopped at a bakery along the way to buy some pastries as a gift. Jack's mother always has a frown when she sees me, but she would light up upon receiving the pastries. When we arrived, his mother came to greet us. As usual, she frowned at my sight, almost as if she was not happy to see me. "Mother-in-law, please have some of these," I said, handing her the pastries. She snatched them from me and peered inside before replying, "Is it these pastries again? They're getting boring. But since you insist, I'll have them." Her face lit up like a child receiving a toy. "Is father around today?" he asked. Jack's father was elderly, but still worked actively. "He's out at a meeting. Why, did you need something?" she asked. "No, not really. I just had something I wanted to talk about with him," he replied. I hadn't heard anything about this from Jack. "What's going on? Did you have something to tell your father?" I asked Jack. "It's none of your business," he responded. "What do you mean? We're a married couple, aren't we? Can you just stop nagging?" Jack retorted, to which his mother added, "Exactly. If Jack doesn't want to tell you something, you shouldn't be prying." I decided not to respond, knowing that arguing with her would be fruitless. Just then, Jack's sister appeared. "Oh, Jack, you're here," she said. "Sis, perfect timing. I have something to discuss." Jack started. "What is it?" she asked. "I can take a long vacation next month. I was thinking about a family trip to Hawaii. How about you, sis?" Jack proposed. "I'll pass. I don't have a passport," she replied. I was taken aback. Jack, who was always busy with work and rarely took time off, was suggesting a trip to Hawaii. "Jack, is everything all right with your job?" "I'm only suggesting this trip because my work's going fine." My mother-in-law seemed displeased with my interference in Jack's business. Frowning deeply, she said to me, "You shouldn't meddle with decisions Jack has made. You're really nosy, aren't you?" "That's right. And Lisa, the reason I asked you here today is because I want you to take care of Lucy during the time we're on vacation." I was momentarily taken aback. But then I realized that staying here with Lucy would be much more enjoyable than going on a trip to Hawaii with my mother-in-law. "Okay, I will take care of Lucy. But if that was the case, you didn't need to bring me all the way here to tell me that, did you?" "I figured if I told you in front of my mother, you'd understand quicker," Jack replied. He must have assumed I'd resist when I found out I couldn't go to Hawaii. And if I did, he wanted my mother-in-law to forcefully convince me. It was clear to me that this was his intent. I was left feeling dumbfounded and left the room to head to Lucy's room. Lucy looked delighted to see me. "It's been a while. How have you been?" "I'm good. What brings you here today?" Jack asked me to come with him to our parents' house, so I did. But it's strange. Before, whenever Jack came here, he used to tell me I couldn't come along. My brother is definitely hiding something. He's always been secretive. So, apparently, he's going to Hawaii next month. But I'll be staying back. I think that's better, though. As I said this with a smile, Lucy also replied with a grin. "In that case, you should come over and stay here." "Sure, I'll do that." After that, Lucy and I had a great time chatting. I always wondered why Lucy and my mother-in-law were so different. About an hour later, Jack came to get me, and we headed home. At that time, Lucy gave me a slight wink. She revealed a shocking truth and an even more shocking plan to me. A month later, on the day of the Hawaii trip, Jack and I went to his parents' house. Although I wasn't going to Hawaii, I brought my luggage to stay at my in-laws for a week with Lucy. I took the luggage to Lucy's room. "It's finally happening," Lucy said, flashing a playful grin. When I returned to the living room, everyone going to Hawaii was already there. It seemed that Jack's father wasn't going, as he wasn't present. As the departure time neared, the entire family, with Jack's voice rising above the rest, chimed in. "Taking care of Lucy is your job. Don't slack off." And even my mother-in-law added, "Please get along well with Lucy. It's better for you to stay here, isn't it? If anything happens to Lucy, it's all your fault. We'll hold you responsible." It was absurd for someone who was about to abandon their immobile sister for a vacation in Hawaii to say these words. But I did not react at all. It didn't matter what Jack said. I wasn't in the mood to see them off, so I returned to Lucy's room. It was at that very moment. Lucy sprang up energetically from her bed and called out to me. "Come on, let's get going." This echoed a conversation we'd had just the other day when Lucy confessed, "You know, I can actually walk." And with walking came the ability to converse. "Since when?" I asked. "Since last year, I suppose." "Why have you been hiding this from the rest of the family?" With that, Lucy began sharing an unexpected tale. "Actually, my father and mother are both remarried. I'm my dad's child from his previous marriage, and my sister and brother are from my mom's side." I was surprised, but considering how distant and cold my mother-in-law usually was towards Lucy, I couldn't help but think, I thought so. "Is that so?" "Yeah, my mom despises me. And I didn't want to talk to her, so I pretended that I couldn't." "And your father?" "Dad knows everything. He's always on my side." "I see. That's why, regarding this trip to Hawaii, I'm thinking we should go too." "Huh? What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm planning to go to Hawaii on the same day with you. We'll even stay at the same resort," Lucy said, with a sparkle in her eye, which caught me completely off guard. "What? I'd be thrilled to go to Hawaii with you, Lucy, but do you even have a passport?" "Of course. I secretly got my passport last month. And don't worry about the expenses. My dad is covering our plane tickets and the resort, including yours." "I see. I'm really looking forward to this." And that's how we ended up here today. When Lucy and I arrived at the airport via taxi, my father-in-law was there, waiting to see us off. "Lisa, it's been a while. I know it must be surprising, but I hope you enjoy the trip to Hawaii." "Thank you, father-in-law. I feel guilty for all the plane tickets and resort fees you've covered." "Ha, don't worry about it. As long as you two have fun, I'm happy." "Thank you for your kindness." After that, we boarded a plane from a different airline than my husband's family. We landed in Hawaii early in the morning. We took a taxi from the airport and checked into the resort hotel. Lucy and I were sharing a room. I mentioned to Lucy, "Your father seems pretty well traveled." "Yeah, he's been on several international business trips. He's even been to Hawaii a few times." "So, what's the plan?" "I'm guessing my mom and everyone will dine at the restaurant here tonight. I'm thinking of surprising them." "That sounds like fun. I'm excited. Should we get some rest to recover from getting jet-lagged? That sounds like a good idea. I couldn't sleep at all on the plane. After taking a shower, we climbed into bed and quickly fell asleep. We woke up around late afternoon, close to 4 o'clock. Lucy was already awake, starting to wear makeup. I'm sorry, I slept too much. No, don't worry about it. I just woke up too. We really had a good sleep, didn't we? Fully recharged and ready for our battle. Around 7 o'clock, I said to Lucy, I'll go and see and check the restaurant. As I was looking for Jack and his party from the shadows near the entrance of the restaurant, I found them, dining joyfully in a far-off spot. I was too far away from them, so I decided to venture deeper into the restaurant. From my position, all I could see was their backs, and it was hard to identify anyone. But I spotted the back of a young woman that I didn't recognize. There wasn't any such woman when they had left Jack's parents' house. Upon seeing this, I was taken aback, nearly letting out a loud gasp, but I managed to suppress it. When I strained my ears, I could intermittently hear Jack and my mother-in-law's voices. I'm glad it's not that woman today. Yeah, I really drew the short straw. She's tainted my family record. If only we had an elegant daughter like her from the start. I want to divorce her and start fresh soon. Try to find a reason for the divorce and extract a hefty alimony from that woman. Even without a cause for the divorce, it's fine. I can fabricate as many as I want. She's so bad that I want to throw her in the trash. I want to see my grandchild from you and her soon. My mother-in-law was giving the woman a smile that she had never shown me before. I was driven by the urge to step forward and see the woman's face, but I held it in, returned to my room, and told Lucy. That took a while. I'm sorry, I saw something shocking. Jack brought a woman that I've never seen before. What? I was about to scream. Jack and my mother-in-law were continuously bad-mouthing me, and Jack even said he would find a reason for divorce. That's terrible. Jack called me a bad catch, but seeing him with another woman, I felt relieved. Now I can divorce him outright. That's a good thing. Shall we make our entrance then? Lucy and I headed towards the restaurant hall. When we entered to the restaurant, we requested to sit near Jack's table and were able to get a seat quite close to them. They didn't notice our arrival. As we were sitting quite close, we could hear their conversation well, which was still filled with derogatory comments about me. I was amazed and ended up giving a bitter smile at how they could badmouth me indefinitely. Seeing my face, Lucy gave a nod with a smile. That was a cue for us to begin our counterattack. I stood up from my seat, stepped forward towards Jack, and shouted, "Are you all having a good time?" I'll never forget the look on Jack and my mother-in-law's faces at that moment. Their mouths agape and eyes wide open. They froze for a few seconds. After a few seconds, my mother-in-law finally spoke. "Why are you here? And how did Lucy get here without a wheelchair?" At her words, Lucy stood up, gave mother-in-law a smile, and said, "I don't need a wheelchair." Once again, they were stunned. Thanks to you, my body and speech have returned to normal. I must have caused you quite a bit of trouble for a long time. Lucy, when did you regain your ability to speak? I wonder when that was. Maybe last year? Then why did you hide it until now? Because it was better if you guys continued to believe that I couldn't speak. You and Jack were speaking ill of me earlier, weren't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale in an instant. What do you mean? She asked. Yeah, we weren't saying anything bad about you, Lisa, Jack retorted. That won't work. I recorded everything on my phone. Do you want me to play it back right now? I countered. My mother-in-law fell silent, but Jack stood up. Lisa, you've been causing me trouble all this time, and now you're making these outrageous claims? He barked. Jack was the one making absurd claims, so I retaliated. Once I returned back home, I'll immediately contact my lawyer to initiate our divorce procedure. You can't deny the fact that you're on a vacation abroad with another woman. Plus, you described getting with me as drawing a blank lottery ticket, so I expect you to demonstrate sincerity by paying a hefty compensation for that comment, I declared. At my words, my mother-in-law seemed to acknowledge her defeat, and her attitude abruptly changed. Lisa, dear, I really like you. Please, try to get along with Jack. This woman is not involved with Jack, she pleaded. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Since I am a blank lottery ticket, I cannot live with Jack. Please, enjoy your time with this woman. Oh, and I might also seek compensation from her. Isn't that exciting? I smirked. The woman in question turned pale and began to tremble upon hearing my words. Unfazed by the public gaze, Jack fell to his knees and pleaded. Lisa, I beg you, don't make this a big deal. My company has strict rules about this, he implored. What's that? You don't sound sorry at all, I replied. Jack appeared taken aback, then tried again. Lisa, I beg you, forgive me. If my company finds out, I'll lose my job, he confessed. Though your plea sounds better now, I will never forgive you. You are married, and yet here you are on an overseas trip with another woman, I said firmly. Upon hearing my words, my mother-in-law also fell to her knees next to Jack, pleading. Please, forgive my son, she implored, tears streaming down her face. By this time, all the other customers were watching us, and the restaurant manager started walking towards our table. Seeing this, I got up and said, Well, Lucy and I will head back to our room. You all enjoy your Hawaiian vacation. I guess things will get a bit difficult when you get back home. Hearing this, Jack, crying, shouted at the top of his lungs. Please forgive me! I can't afford to pay any compensation! At his loud outburst, the restaurant manager frowned, instructed something to a nearby staff member, and then briskly told Jack something. It was a polite way of telling him that he was disturbing the other guests and needed to leave. However, Jack was taken aback, not understanding the manager's words. Soon, 2 buffed-up security guards arrived and hauled Jack away. Jack was sobbing and struggling, but he was no match for the 2 bulky men. My mother-in-law and the woman were dumbfounded, unable to utter a word. While Lucy and I were also surprised by the turn of events, I thought Jack got what he deserved. A week later, Lucy and I returned home. Jack was quickly released and seemed to have returned to his room. However, I later heard that he had been in a state of shock since returning to his room and had kept to himself until the end of the trip. The day after I returned home, I went to the law firm where my old college friend worked to request for a divorce proceeding. Unfortunately, my friend was not present, but a female lawyer was assigned to me, who was very easy to talk to, and I was able to explain everything that had happened. After listening to my story, she assured me that a divorce was possible, that I could claim alimony, and that she would investigate the woman who was with Jack in Hawaii before determining whether I could claim alimony from her as well. A month later, the female lawyer contacted me and informed me that it had been proved that Jack had been dating the other woman for about 6 months. Hence, She said it was possible for me to demand alimony from this woman too. I requested the female lawyer, please squeeze as much alimony as you can from Jack and his woman. She smiled and nodded. 2 months later, I was officially divorced, and into my bank account was deposited the alimony from the two. I mumbled as I saw the amount. And that's karma for calling me a blank lottery ticket. 3 months later, Jack and my mother-in-law suddenly visited my place. Despite it being only 3 months, they had lost a lot of weight and looked completely haggard. I asked them, "What do you want? I don't want to see your faces." Jack replied in a thin voice, "I'm sorry. Could you lend me some money? I've lost my job and the woman ran away. I don't even have money for food." My mother-in-law also spoke in a whisper. "I've divorced my husband too. I don't have money. Please, I beg you." My mother-in-law was in tears. I responded, "Too bad. I have absolutely no obligation to help you, and even if I did, I would never help you guys out. Now, please leave." After they left, I sprinkled a large amount of salt at my entrance to get rid of bad energy from my house.
The woman my brother chose to marry happened to be the daughter of a bank executive. "Please do not come to the wedding," she implored. She despised me, a high school dropout working in construction. My brother's the only family I have, yet she threatened to cancel the marriage if I attended. "Please do not interfere any further," she pleaded. Wanting my brother to be happy, I had no choice but to accept her request. However, where was the groom's brother? My absence caused the wedding to plunge into chaos. My name is Ethan Smith. One morning on my day off, I woke up to a call from my younger brother Jake. "Hey Ethan, you're off today, right?" "Yeah, I was actually asleep." I listened to him as I got up and headed to the bathroom. "I met someone I want to marry, and I'd like you to meet her," he said. I was taken aback, and now completely wide awake. I was delighted to see my brother all grown up. Jake and I had always been there for each other. Our mother divorced when we were young, worked on her own, and provided for us. I barely remember anything about our father, because he was rarely at home. I often looked after Jake, who was still in daycare while I was in middle school, in place of our mother, who came home late from work. "Sorry, Ethan, I have to go to work again. Here's some dinner. Heat it up and eat it with Jake," she would say. "Got it. I'll give him a bath first, though. He falls asleep in the middle of dinner these days." "All right, thank you, Ethan." One day, our peaceful life was disrupted when our mother decided we would go to our grandparents' house. She left us in the care of our grandparents and never returned. Jake, who was still very young, felt lost without our mother and cried every night. During those times, I read him books, held his hand as we slept, and distracted him from his sorrows. "Where's Mom? Is she coming home today?" he asked. It always hurt to hear that, and I don't remember when I started saying I didn't know. Our grandparents, despite being angry at our mother, raised us lovingly. I still remember how happy I was to have warm meals ready for me every day. When I began to accept that our mother wouldn't come back, I realized that I was the only one who could protect Jake. When Jake started elementary school and some local bullies started messing with him, I scared them off by swinging around the broom our grandmother always used. "Whoa, this guy's older brother's crazy, run!" The reason I started thinking about learning boxing was because I had this compelling desire to become stronger, to protect my little brother Jake. In the end, there wasn't any boxing gym available in our rural hometown in Kansas. Instead, our grandpa took me fishing on his days off. Standing in front of the sea, I felt how small I was. When I cast my fishing line into the water, I felt a sense of calm that I didn't usually experience in my busy life. I grew fond of fishing and started leaving Jake in the care of our grandmother to go fishing with our grandfather. I began going every week, and Mr. Brown, one of my grandfather's fishing buddies, also became a friend. I secretly thought that if my father was still around, he would be about Mr. Brown's age, and it always made me happy when I saw him. "Do you have any idea what you want to be when you grow up, Ethan?" Mr. Brown asked me while we were fishing. I want to be a regular office worker, earn money so my younger brother and grandparents can live more comfortably," I said. "Ethan, you've got a heart as big as this ocean. You'll be fine. Just keep doing your best," he told me. Those words of his have saved me many times since. When I started high school, I studied hard so I could earn money. Then one day, my grandmother fainted. My grandmother was admitted to the hospital, and immediately after, my grandfather fainted too, and he passed away. We were able to hold a small funeral after explaining our circumstances to the people at the local funeral home. Knowing that our grandmother couldn't come, my brother Jake suggested that we go to the fishing spot to look for Mr. Brown, because he thought that Grandpa would be lonely. When we told Mr. Brown about our grandfather's sudden death, he quickly prepared and attended the funeral the next day.
"Ethan, I'm sorry to make you worry. I'll get better soon."
My grandmother, who couldn't attend the funeral, seemed dispirited after my grandfather's death. "You take it easy in the hospital. We're fine at home. Jake's going to be in middle school next year. He's old enough," I reassured her.
"Well then, there are things I should tell you, Ethan,"
she replied, and during her hospitalization, she told me details about household matters and financial matters. However, just when we thought she was recovering, her condition suddenly worsened, and she passed away. I had to drop out of high school to work at a construction site to support Jake and myself. "I'm going to get a part-time job too," Jake said. "You can't get a part-time job when you're in middle school. You need to focus on your studies," I replied. "But I can deliver newspapers," he protested. "It's fine. I'm earning enough, don't worry," I reassured him. Jake kept offering to work part-time to help out. "I want you to study, get into a good school, and go to college, so you don't have to worry about work in the future. I don't mind working as much as it takes for that," I told him. Hearing this, Jake finally started focusing on his studies, entered a prestigious high school, and steadily advanced to college. Now he works at a top-notch company and has a woman he wants to marry. As his older brother, I couldn't be happier. "Can I bring my fiancé to your apartment on your next day off?" Jake asked me. "Here? All right. I'll make sure to clean up. I'm looking forward to it," I replied. On my next day off, I nervously met Jake's fiancée, Emily Garcia, for the first time. "Nice to meet you. I'm Jake's older brother, Ethan. Please come in," I greeted her.
"Nice to meet you. Do you live here?"
she asked. "Yeah, this is my brother's apartment," Jake answered while she looked puzzled, but I guess she was just not used to coming into a bachelor's apartment and continued the conversation. "Yes, sorry it's so cramped. I work at a construction site and usually only come home to sleep, so I don't mind the small space. I never thought Jake would bring his girlfriend here," I said. "I met Emily through a client and we're planning to get engaged soon," Jake revealed. Seeing my brother so confident, I was sincerely happy about their engagement. Emily, maybe due to her quiet personality, didn't say much and just kept giving an awkward smile. She must be from a wealthy family. While we were talking, Jake's phone rang. "Sorry, it's a work call," he said, and after he left the room, Emily finally spoke.
"You said you work at a construction site, Ethan. Which college did you graduate from?"
she asked. "Actually, I started working after my grandparents died, and I had to take care of Jake like a parent. I dropped out of high school," I explained.
"So you didn't finish high school?"
she asked. "Correct. Unlike Jake, I never liked studying much, and I've been doing the same job since then," I said.
"I didn't know that Jake's brother dropped out of high school,"
she said with an audible sigh of disappointment. I don't regret giving up on my education even now. But having experienced the harsh reality of how society doesn't accept me as a high school dropout, I suddenly felt anxious about whether I might end up causing trouble for my brother.
I assumed, Ethan, that you must have some prestigious profession since Jake is so accomplished, but it seems I was mistaken,
she said. A prestigious profession.
It's impossible to regain that now. All I ask is that you don't interfere with our happiness.
I have no intention of doing that. I want Jake to be happy. As I said this, she slightly raised the corners of her mouth and gave a fake smile. I could tell she was forcing it. When Jake returned, she grew quiet again. I wondered if Jake knew about her behavior, but I didn't know how to communicate this to him. Ethan, thanks for hanging out today, especially on your day off. I'm glad you were able to meet her, Jake said, radiating happiness. Not long after, I received an email announcing their official engagement. Then, about a week before the wedding, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Emily.
Hello? It's Emily from the other day. Do you remember me?
Just hearing her speak reminded me of our previous encounter, and I felt a tinge of discomfort. Of course, I remember you. Is something wrong?
I have a small favor to ask of you today.
A favor for me? Is it some surprise for the wedding? If there's anything I can do, just let me know. I jovially responded, buoyed by the thought of helping.
Yes, about the wedding. Could you perhaps not attend?
She asked. Excuse me? Not attend? I can't imagine not being there for Jake's wedding. I'm his only family.
You may not be aware, but my father is a senior executive at a bank. It's frowned upon for him to attend a ceremony where the other party has no parents or relatives. So we thought we might hire some actors to attend.
Actors?
There's a service that provides people to play the roles of families and relatives. They'll come if we ask, so we thought we'd go that route.
And Jake is okay with this?
Well, the wedding is for me, after all. I plan to discuss this with him, so could you perhaps tell Jake that you have a work conflict? No, please do so.
I highly doubt Jake would agree to this. I want to celebrate him too.
If we don't do this, we might not even be able to hold the wedding. It was hard enough to get my father to approve of our marriage, so please don't interfere anymore.
You're calling the brother of your future husband an interference? There's a pause on the other end of the line, followed by a small sigh.
I just don't understand why you, with no education to boast of, or any respectable job, feel entitled to attend. Frankly, it would be embarrassing for us.
With that, she hung up. I was left stunned. For the first time, I felt ashamed of myself. Granted, I'm not someone impressive, being a high school dropout, and it seemed that even getting approval for their marriage was a struggle because of me. I didn't want to cause Jake any embarrassment. That was the one thing I wanted to avoid. So I decided to call Jake. Hey Ethan, it's referee to call, what's up? Actually, about the wedding. I've got a work commitment that day I cannot miss. I'm really sorry, but I won't be able to attend. What? Why? I thought you cleared your schedule for that day. Yes, I had. As the supervisor on site, it was hard for me to take a day off, but I made arrangements for that day. I thought about my coworkers who said, "You have to go on that day, congratulate Jake for us." And I felt a surge of emotions. I can't get out of it. Since I'm the supervisor, I can't leave. I see. That's disappointing. But if you can make it, even if it's for a short while, please come. I want you to be there. I got it. If I finish early, I'll be there. Congratulations, Jake. Yeah, thank you. Promise me, okay? After hanging up the phone, tears wouldn't stop streaming down my face as I pondered on Jake's emotions. The fact that he wanted me, his imperfect brother, to be present at his wedding was somewhat consoling. I felt as if I had regained a fragment of my bruised self-esteem that Emily had shattered. On the day of the wedding, with no particular place to go, I decided to go fishing to escape my suffocating loneliness at home. It's something I hadn't done much of since I started working, but I always had a favorite fishing spot. It's a place where I wouldn't run into any of my colleagues. As I cast my fishing line, The familiar feeling made me tear up all over again. I was alone, and for a while, I wanted to cry freely. I wanted to release my feelings of frustration, loneliness, and pity for Jake into the ocean. After having a good cry, I suddenly sensed a presence. When I turned around, I recognized a figure standing with a fishing rod. "Oh, Mr. Brown?" I quickly wiped my tears with my sleeve and turned around again. Mr. Brown was wearing a nostalgic smile. "Ethan, it's been a while since you've come here. What makes you look so sad?" "Ha, you are observant as ever." Embarrassed that he'd seen me crying, I told Mr. Brown everything about why I couldn't attend the wedding, laughing and crying as I did so. If anyone could soothe my turbulent heart, it would be Mr. Brown. I had such a hunch. "That's harsh, Ethan. You're an admirable man. There's no reason to feel ashamed. I know that better than anyone else." "Stop making me cry." "Hey, Ethan, do you think this is the place to be crying?" "But if I show up, won't I interfere with Jake's happiness? Do you think your brother will truly be happy if his big brother doesn't come to his once-in-a-lifetime wedding?" "Well, Jake values you more than you think." I remembered what Jake told me. He said he wanted me to come, even if I was late. "You should go. Come on, get going." "Thanks, Mr. Brown. All right, I'll go." I hurried home to get ready for my beloved brother. Each word of Mr. Brown's pushed me forward. When I arrived at the wedding venue, Jake and Emily were still waiting in the backstage room. "Bro, you made it in time. I'm so glad." Next to the joyful Jake, Emily suddenly made a sour face.
Well, this is inconvenient.
"Why is it inconvenient for my brother to come?"
I had to invite someone to fill his seat since he said he couldn't come. That's why.
Probably some sort of fake relative, I suppose. With the wedding entrance time closing in, Emily seemed more irritable and frantic than usual. I just wanted to congratulate Jake today. When I said this to Emily, she finally blew up.
"Ethan, this isn't what we agreed on, is it? Why won't you listen to me? We're running out of time."
"That's because I'm Jake's brother."
"And what? Brotherly love? I'm so tired of it. How would it look if someone found out that the groom's brother is someone like you, a high school dropout?"
Even in front of Jake, Emily yelled.
"I'll get my dad to kick you out, so don't move!"
Suddenly, the backstage door swung open roughly, and Emily's father came in looking flustered. "Emily, where is Ethan?"
"Wait, what? What's going on, Dad?"
she asked. "One of our bank's major clients just contacted us wanting to close their account. The bank is in panic mode. When I asked for the reason, they said you had—"
"What, me?"
Emily interrupted. "Yes, apparently they said they would seize all transactions with us unless you change your disrespectful attitude towards Ethan. They suspect it's a matter of dignity," Emily's father explained. Emily glared at me sharply.
"Ethan, did you do something? Like spreading rumors to damage my reputation on social media or something?"
she asked. "I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't understand how my name came up in this," I replied, completely clueless about the situation. "Emily's attitude? Breaking the agreement? You mean the reason you suddenly couldn't come was because Emily arranged it?" Jake asked, suspicion creeping into his voice.
"That's a terrible thing to say.
Emily began, probably searching for an excuse. I cut off whatever she was going to say. "I made up my mind not to come because she called me a disgrace, but I realized I was wrong and rushed over," I admitted.
"Hang on, Ethan."
Jake was stunned. "Emily, did you tell my brother he's a disgrace?"
Because..."
Emily stammered, struggling to find her words. Ignoring her flustered state, Jake spoke in a stern voice. "Thanks to Ethan, I managed to get through college. I can't thank him enough. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm truly sorry." "It's okay, Jake. You don't need to apologize to me." I comforted him. Then Jake glared at Emily. "Emily, we're going to have to call off this wedding. That's okay with you, right, Mr. Garcia?" "If that's what it takes for them to forgive us, I have no problem with it," her father replied.
"But wait."
Emily tried to argue, but her father had already left. He probably had to deal with the bank. And so, the wedding dissolved without the bride and groom even making an entrance. According to Jake, Emily ended up losing her job at the bank due to losing their trust, and her father received disciplinary actions, getting transferred and demoted to a different state. Emily didn't want to leave, so she came crying to Jake and told him everything. But Jake had no lingering feelings for Emily. Hearing about what she had done to me and realizing her true nature had a significant impact. Apparently, her coworkers didn't think highly of her either, and this message from the major client was the final straw. There are lots of bad rumors about her, and it seems there's no chance of her making a comeback, Jake explained. I see. But let's be glad we found out her true colors before you two got married, I suggested. Yeah, that's true. By the way, aren't you curious about who the major client is? I guess so. Who could it be? I work in construction. I don't know anyone who could shake up a bank that much. Actually, there's one person who comes to mind, Jake said. He had looked into who the major clients might be, and one of the company's chairman's names looked familiar. Do you know Mr. Brown's first name? He asked. Mr. Brown? I remember our grandpa used to call Mr. Brown by his first name, often referring to him as Tom, Tommy, or even Thomas. Yeah, I think it's Thomas, I confirmed. Bingo! Did you tell Mr. Brown about the wedding, Ethan? Yeah, I did, but... Jake was grinning from ear to ear as he told me about Mr. Brown. Turns out, Mr. Brown was the chairman of a major corporation that their bank does business with. On my next day off, I went out fishing again. Despite the urgency in my heart, my legs weren't keeping up, and I stumbled my way to my usual fishing spot. Mr. Brown! Hey there, did the wedding go smoothly? Mr. Brown was smiling broadly at his usual spot. Mr. Brown. Ethan, you've been crying a lot lately. You weren't such a crybaby before. I'm sorry for troubling you with my complaints. Trouble? You're my fishing buddy, Ethan. I care about Jake just like you do. It's only natural to help a friend, so don't worry about it. Besides, you shouldn't be thinking about anything when you're fishing. I nodded and sat down next to Mr. Brown, casting my fishing line into the water. All that seemed like a distant memory, as I was back to my usual busy work life. Well, it's not exactly the same as before. There were changes happening around me. Mr. Smith, I made too much of this. Would you like some? My typical fast food lunch had recently turned more interesting. That's because the new secretary has been finding reasons to bring me homemade lunches. She was Mr. Brown's granddaughter, and I vaguely remembered her mentioning that she had been the little girl Mr. Brown brought along who used to come fishing with us. You were my first crush, and I could never forget. I can't believe you just remembered me. She pouted as she said this, but the next moment she was smiling. I had grown fond of her sunny disposition, and now she had become someone important to me. I told Jake I had a girlfriend via email, and that same night I received a call from him after a long time. Introduce me to your girlfriend, bro. I'll bring my girlfriend too. Apparently, Jake had a new girlfriend too. The fishing that my grandfather taught me was a solace to my young mind back then. Now, it's become a bond with the people I care about. It's a sunny day today. According to the weather forecast, looks like we're in for a few days of clear skies. I plan to invite my girl on a fishing date with me this weekend.